Everybody, sorry I've been off for so long. Just trying to get everything organized in my life. My wife had another baby, and just trying to get everything, just trying to get in a routine now, because it just throws everything just a little bit off, getting used to his schedule, and while maintaining our other boys and work and stuff like that. So that's why I just haven't been doing these videos as much, but just trying to get back into it. I was watching, I can't speak too loud, everyone's sleeping, but I was watching another episode of RoboCop, the TV series. It's on that Telly app, free on there. It's also on Peacock, if you want to look it up and watch it. I watched this before, but now I'm going back because I do this. I'll watch something and I'll wait, and I'll go back and watch it again several times, because I'll miss stuff, because there's so much information when you're taking it in the first time, and you're someone like me, you'll get caught on small stuff and you forget a lot of the other stuff. So I'll watch stuff over again, but give it time so my mind can digest and then think, and then focus on the newer stuff. So anyways, so as I'm watching this episode, the broadcasters on the show, they bring up the fact that, hey, in this year 2045, something like that, they just released cars that run off methane gas. So I was like, wait a minute, let me look that up, because I remember seeing a movie growing up where the theme of it was a girl that was living in the city, and she had to be, let's see, I'll be right back. I'm back. So as I was saying, so the premise of the movie I'd seen before when I was growing up, this girl was taken from like Chicago. She had to go live in Arizona to get away from the city life, to try to bring her back to some type of normalcy. And she was doing work on a ranch, and she was shoveling manure in this one scene, and she was putting in these barrels, these oil barrels. And she asked what were they going to do with them. She asked the people she was working with, and people she was working with were like the Navajos, and they were like, we take this and we're going to let this turn into fuel for our cars. And she started asking questions, and they're like, basically, we let these things sit for a while, and I don't remember if it was the heat from the sun or whatnot, or just being stuck in the barrel, but the manure settles at the bottom, the gas separates and rises at the top, and they can scoop that off the top and fuel their cars. They're like, it's a cheap fuel source. So when I heard them say that, I had to go look this up and check this out. NASA spinoff, right? And this was written in, what year was this? I don't see was it 2020? This was published in this car. Well, we'll see. Let's see here.
Liquid methane is beginning to become an energy alternative to expensive oil as a power source for automotive vehicles. Methane is the principal component of natural gas, costs less than half as much as gasoline, and its emissions are a lot cleaner than from gasoline or diesel engines. Beech Aircraft Corporation's Boulder division has designed and is producing a system for converting cars and trucks to liquid methane operation. Liquid methane, LM, is a cryogenic fuel which must be stored at a temperature of 260 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. The LM system includes an 18-gallon fuel tank in the trunk and simple under-the-hood, carburetor conversion equipment. Optional twin fuel system allows operator to use either LM or gasoline fuel. Boulder Division has started deliveries for 25 vehicle conversions and is furnishing a liquid methane refueling station. Beach is providing instruction for Northwest Natural Gas for conversion of methane to liquid state.
So, literally, if someone can figure this out on their own, which I'm pretty sure we can find videos of people breaking this down, breaking down how this is done. You can literally take waste and fuel and find a way to fuel your car with, which is your natural waste. Think about that, right? I mean, I've seen videos where people they've built their own like carburetors and not carburetors, what are they called? I can't think of the name of it. It's like not a generator. I can't think of the name of it. But they convert water with a teaspoon of baking soda, and they make their gas mileage go a long way just by adding that to their car. Let's see if I can pull the video on that. I've seen, different ways people have done this, but I thought that was crazy. I mean, either way, we know what the Bible says. The time's going to come where we're going to all lose the chariot. Lexpo broke that down. So, I mean, it's inevitable. But I just thought that was interesting, that they came out in this episode and it was like, hey, this is what they're putting out there now versus what we're seeing going on. And then there was something else in here. I think this will explain what I'm trying to explain the best. Hold on. Guess I have to bypass the commercial, if you would.
The Amazon War was a military conflict involving the United States of America against unknown combatants. The Urban Rehabilitators, a paramilitary force owned by OCP, participated in the war. OCP also developed a specialized plasma cannon to use in the conflict to knock out machinery such as aircraft and armored vehicles. 2.
See, in this other episode in RoboCop, RoboCop's reunited with one of the members of this unit that was sent down there, because basically the way they have this laid out is there's no real nations as far as government running things. It's all corporations running things, and this corporation is OCP and it's run out of Detroit, and everyone basically lives their life waiting for this corporation to give them permission to do things. Even the police department has to answer to this corporation. And there's something else I wanted to look into. I just keep forgetting. RoboCop, in all these episodes, he has this one liner he keeps saying, he cannot betray the public trust. Even when people are looking for him to step outside of being robotic and having a consciousness, he's like, I can't betray the public trust. So my thing was, I need to stop and look up what this public trust is that he's actually talking about, because we know it's not like trust in the public, people having trust in him. It's the trust that's been put together so this corporation can exist, right? Like the Charter of Virginia, that kind of thing. So, and I thought it was weird, right? Because in this episode, they're going down there to Central America and they're fighting this war and they're taking the resources. And lo and behold, I'm watching the Jimmy Dore, and I think it was like a month ago or two, he does a video making fun of members of the military, saying that we need to go to Central America and protect them in South America and protect them because they have natural resources and they're flush with them, and we don't want anybody else taking their natural resources. Yeah, so fair use. This video I'm going to show fair use.
America, if they send their military to a country, it's because we want to steal their natural resources and overthrow their democratically elected government, install a puppet so our capitalists, which actually run our government, can extract wealth from that country. That's if you read Confessions of an Economic Hitman or War is a Racket. If you know anything about the United States military's history since it started, that's all we do. And now, watch this. This is the U.S. Southcom commander. And she's talking about Latin America's natural resources that are so rich in resources, it's off the charts. She says 60% of the world's lithium is in the region. You have heavy crude. You have light sweet crude. You have rare earth elements. You have the Amazon.
A juicy booty on that South America.
Yes. You want to hear her? Here she is.
This region is so rich in resources. It's off the charts rich. And they have a lot to be proud of. And our competitors and adversaries also know how rich in the resources that this region is. 60% of the world's lithium is in the region. You have heavy crude. You have light sweet crude. You have rare earth elements.
And we have a military that's going to get all those for our capitalists in America.
She will be mine. Oh, yes.
Who is she? She's General Laura Richardson. She's a dual military family, wife, mother, sister, daughter. Now, I don't know if you know this, but she misspelled dual. She used so dual, the way she means it, is spelled D-U-A-L. But the
She
way
fights other military families.
But the
to
way she
death.
spelled it means she's fighting other military families, her wife, her mother, her sister, and her daughter. She's dueling.
That's the list of people she's beaten
Yeah.
in a fair duel.
She's dueling. So that's who this is, and that's what she's saying. Let's go look what. If this was a Russian general speaking like this about Ukraine and any other neighboring country, it wouldn't leave Twitter for a month. So this is not going to make a dent on Twitter. So her saying all this crap is not going to make a dent on Twitter. And it won't make a dent in our culture. It won't make a dent in our corporate news media. It won't become something that we talk about in our cultural consciousness. It's something that we repress.
Well, then when we, go in to free them or whatever, you'll see this pop, I guess this will pop up back again on your show. This
Yes,
clip
that's
when we're
right.
going in.
We got to bring some democracy to the Amazon. That's what they're going to say. General Richardson wants to solve Venezuela democratically.
Oh, man, don't make me come down there and democratically
Having this
solve your
resolved.
shit.
Having this resolved peacefully and democratically is obviously where we want to go with Venezuela. And I meet in Venezuela or in Miami a lot.
Obviously, we have to say that we care about democracy in Venezuela, even though we undermine it at every turn, because when they have democracy and they elect people, we don't like how it turns out. So
our plans for Venezuela and Havana are as diverse as the breakfast tacos of San Antonio.
Of the different diasporas in Miami, there are a lot of folks from Venezuela in Miami, and a lot of them still have family in Venezuela.
And a lot of those people were the rich ruling class who don't like democracy, just like the rich ruling class from Cuba also left when the revolution happened, and they came to the United States, and they wanted the United States to overthrow the government in Cuba.
So I think you get the point. I'll leave this in the description box if you want to listen to the rest. But I think you get the point. You can see a scenario starting to form that they're going to go to war in these places. If covert stuff doesn't successfully allow them to take the resources, they're going to go to war, like in the RoboCop series, flat out. for the resources, and they're going to do it all in the name of bringing democracy and stability. This is the way to solve the immigration problem. We need to go down there and straighten things out, because we're doing such a great job at that, right? In Ethiopia and Libya, I mean, we took care of Gaddafi, and now there's open slave markets where people are being sold as slaves, you know, in Libya, after we killed the president that tried to set up, you know, a gold-backed standard for them, his own people, that was planning to basically follow the 5 civilized tribes treaties, where when their oil was sold in Libya, the people are supposed to have a trust set up where they get a portion of what is sold diverted to their trust, so their people could be lifted out of poverty. I mean, it was so offensive that in Hillary Clinton's email, she's literally calling for a drone strike against this guy. You know, literally says, why can't we flat out kill this man? You know, but, you know, she's oppressed by men, you know, and whatever not. She's got issues. Anyways, there was something else too. I was watching these videos, you know, and they're from a Christian perspective, and I really don't want to play those. But they were flipping out about the what's that river there? The Euphrates River drying up. And I reached out to Mr. Vincent, and was, you know, we were having our conversations, and I brought that up, you know, have you seen these Christians panic and flip out over this thing? You know, I mean, I look at it, the river they're saying is drying up is not the Euphrates. You know, I've watched enough videos on was it Julius Caesar, the Christ, and I forget the other guy, but he did these videos explaining that Jesus didn't exist. You know, from their point of view, this was, you know, a way to have people worship Caesar, right? And they were pointing out how, for example, people couldn't even locate where Nazareth was, the city of Nazareth, you know, with the whole thing about Jesus, you know, who had jurisdiction over him, you know, was he from Bethlehem, was he from Nazareth, these things, and how it took a queen that wanted to go to the Middle East and see these places, and she couldn't find it, so she appointed a pope to point out where these places are, and he had to go to these places for the first time and tell them where these places were. So at one point in time, these places that they read about, they didn't know where they were, and they had to have somebody that was supposed to be a scholar in this field, a pope, to tell you where it was. That's a problem. If the local people couldn't even tell you where these places were, and it had to be someone with special books gathered to themselves to tell you where they were, that's a problem. You know, so when they were talking about, oh, the Euphrates River is drying up, I'm skeptical. I am really skeptical. You know, I mean, there's still a lot of stuff we don't comprehend, we don't understand, because we're missing stuff. Like in the book of Psalms, when it tells you, you know, when we left Egypt, it says, what was it? The mountains moved like rams, and the hills hopped like lambs. You got to ask yourself, what scripture are we missing? I mean, we're talking about mountains moving and hills hopping out of the way, or hopping away. So that's changing the landscape. We're missing something if no one's discussing that. But it's hinted in the book of Psalms. See, here it is. I wanted to look up, make sure I wasn't misquoting it. Psalms 114. The mountains skipped like rams, and the hills like lambs of the flock. So, geographically, I'm more, you know, that changes things to some degree, you know, to a certain extent. I mean, after a while, these mountains have to stop moving, right? And the hills have to stop moving, so they're going to be in their place. But that right there changes the landscape of something. So, you know, when they're talking about the Euphrates River, I know I can't trust a Christian source on it because they're just regurgitating what other Christian sources have told them. And in my mind, I still hold on to some of the stuff about here in North America. Not saying this is, but I'm saying there's some stuff that still pops up and says, hey, don't overlook this. Don't forget about this stuff either. Right? Like when you read in Jeremiah that, what was it, the Lord, hold on, I'll find the verse, hold on. I just spent the last 10, 20 minutes trying to find the verse. I cannot find it, which makes me wonder if they're, because I've used the verse before where it talks about the Lord will come out of the south and he'll bring death with him. And it says he'll come from Mount, see, I want to say it's called Mount Peor. And I cannot, it's, no matter how I've tried to search it, it's not bringing it up. So I know I'm going to find it when it's going to be totally irrelevant to the video. I'm going to, a video in the future. I'll find it and I'll be like, that's the verse I was talking about. Because, it's just the way it works, right? Sometimes. But when I tried to find Mount Peor, I found a Peor lake in Argentina. And I thought, isn't that interesting? Because Argentina is where they just elected the next, the Pope, right? Pope Francis was supposed to be from Argentina. But it wasn't a mountain, it was just a lake. And I'm like, that's the closest I could find to any place with that name on it. And they got the port down there in Argentina. Was it Christ Port? So I'm like, because one of the things in the New Testament he talks about is take your boat and launch it out into the deep. And you watch the Catholics explain that that's supposed to be take the message. How that verse go? Therefore go into all nations, baptize them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and wherever you go, I will be there with you. And he tells them to launch their boat out into the deep. So, here's a port for him to come back to when it's all said and done in Argentina. And why, what's so important about Argentina for them and to them, I started thinking about this the more, the people were complaining about, the river of Euphrates drying up. I'm like, just looked into this stuff about the water drying up in Arizona, right? How they're blaming it on Saudi Arabia, the farmers are, that they're tapping into the water resource without being challenged because there's no state laws on that, on how much they can, how much they can obtain of the water without a limit on it. They're using it to water alfalfa, and I forget the other plant, but they're watering that and they're sending that back to Saudi Arabia to feed their camels and racehorses. And, I think about Vince, when Vince always brings up in our conversations that the promised land is the land that can feed the whole world, and here's another way where you're feeding the whole world without knowing that you're doing it, at least you're feeding Saudi Arabia, and it's not even going to the people. That's the sad part, right? That's the part where, it's supposed to, if anything, right? What does the Bible always tell you? Take care of the homeless, take care of the fatherless child, and take care of the widow. Are they feeding the homeless? Are they feeding the fatherless child? Are they feeding the widows? No. So they're not even doing that with a righteous intent, So may the Most High deal with them accordingly. But I was thinking about, what's that place over there? The Hoover Dam. Because I think about the Israelite connection, the tribes of Israel. I think about, stories that Arthur told me about the, what's his name there, the Aztecs with that King it's called a Metacame, Montezuma, and him escaping, having the warriors escape his empire with their gold overnight, and people believing it's somewhere buried in there. And then the whole idea of the Egyptian, the Buddhist, and others statues being buried in the Grand Canyon, and people claiming they can see this stuff along the wall. Anyways, so I was thinking about that. I was thinking about how the water had been drying up in Arizona, and people were complaining about in the past that the water from the Hoover Dam and the river leading out of there has been receding for years. And now I've watched videos of these people on rafts and boats that ride along there and show you just how far down, it's receded, and how they believe there's entrances that they can get to now, because they were once covered with water, they can get into now. They never go in there, but it's that kind of thing when the stuff hits the fan. Do you go to, can you go into those places? That's how much resources militarily will be resorted to protecting those places. Do you even go there? I mean, I know from what Lex will explain when he broke down the book of Isaiah, it's a clear cut map to what we're supposed to do and where we're supposed to be. It's as simple as that. But I was talking to Vince, and Vince sent me this video. He told me about this, and he sent me this video, and I wasn't ready for this. But he's like, remember Transformers, the first one? Remember, was it Metatron? That was, they found out at the end was locked away behind the Hoover Dam. And he sent me this, watch. He's like, did you, he starts talking about the Halo video game. And I'm like, I never played it as a child, but, I was raised, in a strict Christian home. So, I mean, that stuff was off the table. So I didn't know what he was talking about. I mean, I heard about the game, obviously, but I didn't know what he was talking about. And he sent me this video, and he said to go into it 10 minutes. So we're going to pick up at the 10 minute and 12 seconds in.
Much better, you guys. I went through 7 days of absolute torture. But anyway, we'll see what happens on Wednesday. All right, take care, guys. Images of bombings on only the two $20 bills. That's only the $20 bills. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to prophesy for you. The Lord has poured this prophecy into me. And after I prophesy, I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you what those words mean. And it's just fascinating. So let me just take a moment and pray. Lord, I pray that you'll just speak those words through me again so that these people can hear it and understand. And I'm praying that you give everybody that watches this video the eyes to see and the heart to understand and the ears to hear. So thus saith the Lord of hosts, behold, the hand of the oppressor has been lifted against you. And out of the sea shall come fire and smoke and a devouring wind. Water as high as the walls of Jerusalem shall cover the city by the sea. And great shall be the destruction of that city. And behold, the great wall which holds back the abundance of the rivers shall burst forth, bringing the hand of the oppressor against you. For I have seen it. For mighty is your enemy that is risen from within your own borders. Now behold the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place where it should.
Mighty is your enemy that is risen against you within your own borders. Is that the whole thing where, like, that senator from Arizona was complaining that in Colorado they have like European, like Romanian area of Europe and Russian speaking soldiers wearing like United States military, uniforms that are working at these bases where they're storing up like vehicles, they like army vehicles that were like from the 70s. And he's trying to tell you that, you know, if something was sent off like an electrical pulse that took out all the electrical grid in your, you know, your electrical cars would be fried, you know. And he's explaining that, you know, what they're doing is storing up vehicles that don't run off of the same microchips and the electrical hardwire that today's cars do. So they'll be able to fully function. And he's like, these people speak in their own native tongue when they're talking to each other, but when U.S. citizens are around, they speak English as clear as day. Reminded me of like that movie Salt with Angelina Jolie, what he was describing, you know.
Not be. Here's the mystery made known to you. You are the holy place of which I speak. And the abomination of desolation shall rise from within the walls of the temple to destroy the temple. For have you not seen, and have you not heard, and has it not been made known to you? Have you not read the scriptures? For when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, they did bear children to them, and the same became mighty men. And has not the sea turned mighty? And the sea shall turn terrible before your very eyes, and the terrible one shall be elevated within the sea. And behold, the man of peace shall come forth from the sea. Barack Hussein Obama. And with words of peace, he will bring chaos and destruction. Behold the fig tree. It puts forth its leaves, and suddenly the time is upon you. The travail begins, and a holy nation is to be born. And it will not stop until that nation is brought forth. This is an appeal from God. It's very serious stuff. A time of travail is coming. The Bible talks about, you know, once the birth pains begin, that's it. It's just like a woman going into travail when her birth pains begin. It doesn't stop until the child is born. Well, a holy nation is about to be born, and that's what this is all about. And it's an appeal from God to you to turn to Jesus Christ. Now we're going to take a little break.
Again, we want to give credit where credit is due. And October and Flames had sent this video to me on the 24th, October 24th. Absolutely no way I would have found this, and I don't know how he found this clip of this Hoover Dam that you just saw. It's absolutely the most bizarre clip. It's not even linked to Halo in the video. You only can tell by the hashtag at the end that says "An Ancient Evil Awakens," and the logo is recognizable, I guess, from Halo players to be the Didac logo, and that it's notable that whenever that logo turns upside down, that means that the Didac's force has been unleashed. I don't really know what that means. So I started to do some research on the legends and lore of Halo. It's the one game I never played. I don't know why. So I started reading about it, and it's just unbelievable. There's so much tucked into this. You can obviously tell that the people that wrote the story to this, their muse was not their own imagination, and a lot of the times these people think they get these creative influxes of thoughts, and it's the enemy whispering in their ears, and they think that it's their own idea, and it's just not. Just go read about Stephanie Meyer's testimony about how she wrote Twilight, and you'll see that she carried a notepad around with her throughout the day because she was hearing the characters talking to her while she was just trying to go about her normal everyday business. So there was some external voice telling her, and the characters were speaking in her mind, and she just had to write them down to keep up with them. By the way, Canada is just absolutely...
It's something interesting too, because I did a video on it maybe 2 years ago, just an article that the Vatican said that they're seeing a surge in possessions. They were giving like courses, more courses than ever on on how to perform exorcisms, because something has happened where more and more people are in their country alone are possessed. And it made me think about a man that was telling his story, how he was talking to someone that and I don't remember if it was a friend of his or somebody met at the store, but they were explaining how they were okay with their child going through a phase to become transgender. He was explaining that it was this woman had a son, and his son believed that he was a girl trapped in he had a girl trapped inside of him, and so she was gonna go with an operation to allow him to have the sex change so he could be a girl. And he goes through this whole so this debate of reasoning, showing him, if your son said he's a bird, would you, how would you know? Would you take him to the top of a building and push him off and see if he could fly? And the whole idea is that no, you wouldn't, because he's not a bird. So why are you allowing him to take this idea? And it was making me think about those videos like from Nicki Minaj, where she was explaining, she has an 11-year-old boy living inside of her. And I'm like, so really we're seeing possession over here, and because we're in the land of Nod, and we're just ignoring it, and we're flat out saying, hey, it's okay. I mean, no wonder the Russians sang that song, sleeping inwards, we're coming for you. I mean, just wow. So again, I just want to play this part again, because I'm not saying that it is because we haven't been able to prove it. None of us have, if it is the case. So I'm not saying it is, but I think it's interesting that we have a waters problem happening over here. We know about, it's not obviously a big deal to the mainstream, but we know about it. And what would be the result of, what would be the results of the Hoover Dam drying up? We know that's man-made. What was the purpose of them building it where they built it? I mean, you go into that Indian treaties book, the Navajo are where they're at, to cultivate the land and to grow produce on the land. But you build a dam to stop up the water amount that they can get to their portions of the land. That doesn't make sense to me. So
credit is due, and October and Flames had sent this video to me on the 24th, October 24th. Absolutely no way I would have found this, and I don't know how he found this clip of this Hoover Dam.